This video covers the cost calculator portion of the Meeting Analyzer. There are numerous software applications available that allow one to input a meeting cost and set a timer, thereby monitoring the cost of the meeting and obtaining a total cost at its conclusion. The fundamental problem with these applications is how to determine what cost to input into the meeting. The Meetings Analyzer cost calculator provides a variety of easy-to-use algorithms that the user can choose from to help determine the cost of the meeting. We will demonstrate the use of these algorithms in this video. The cost calculator page allows the user to choose manual or calculated methods. The manual method has the user put in an amount in dollars per hour, and if it's a group, the number of attendees. Entering 0 indicates the attendee size is unknown. However, the input is multiplied by 1. This is useful when applying sorting algorithms, as it allows one to filter meetings of unknown size. View the training video on filtering for more information. We will demonstrate the manual calculation. We will enter a meeting cost of $100 per hour and 5 attendees. When one submits the cost via the Submit button, the cost will be available for use in the meeting meter page. Note the pending cost listing. The method is manual and the pending cost is $500 per hour, which came from the cost calculator page. Now let us choose calculated method. Note, this is the first time we will be entering calculated method, and that database is currently empty. Thus we see a message, insufficient data to evaluate total meeting cost. You only see this if the calculations method database is empty. There are 3 types of inputs for individual or group. They are individual, group, and consultant. An individual is a single person. A group is entered for meetings consisting of 2 or more people. Consultant provides a different way of managing overhead costs and is used for a single person, the consultant. We will work with individuals first. There are 3 calculation methods. User supplied average, which is the number you enter as an educated guess. No algorithm from the Meeting Analyzer is used to obtain this number. This is similar to manual mode, except overhead are added to the cost. Industry average provides a small database of the dollar cost per hour of individuals working in the industry. Wage as a basis is used primarily for group meetings. Using wage as a basis for an individual is the same as user supplied average. Earnings can be input relative to a pay period. There are 5 possible pay periods: hourly, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and yearly. Most people get paid weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, or they know their yearly income. This allows the user to simply enter a number from their pay stub. In most of our examples, we use $100 per hour as our wage. This allows the math to be obvious. We now show earnings of $100 per hour, which is equal to $4,000 per week or $8,000 bi-weekly. Let us return to $100 an hour to demonstrate input overhead. Meeting costs do not just include wages of the workers, it also includes overhead costs. Overhead costs consist of benefits, general and administrative costs, indirect costs, and profit. The cost calculator enables one to include the overhead cost. If you don't know these numbers, you can obtain them from your accounting department. Default numbers are provided when the system comes up. These default numbers are reasonable estimates. We shall fill out some overhead costs to see how it affects the overall dollars per hour. We have entered 30% for benefits, 7% for general and administration, 3% for indirect costs, and 5% for profit. This totals 45% overhead. Thus, $100 per hour results in a cost of $145 per hour. When we go back to the cost calculator main page, we see that $145 has been entered for the calculated cost. We can submit that cost. The meeting meter page now shows $145 pending. And when we start a new meeting, that $145 per hour is used to calculate the running active meeting cost. We continue using the individual selection on individual or group. We changed calculation algorithm from user supplied average to industry average. When this is done, a new window selection line appears called US Industry Average. You can select from a number of different industry areas. There's a small database that provides the average cost for various industries. Selecting an item will result in the dollars per hour cost for that industry to be automatically entered. We select construction and maintenance, and the dollars per hour is filled in. These are hourly costs from the database. Now we have a new cost. We go back to the cost page and submit the cost. If we go to the meeting meter page, this will be the pending cost. The previous meeting is still running. The pending cost does not become active until you reset the meeting and start a new meeting. Returning to the cost calculator, we will choose another industry average, finance and insurance. Note the resulting dollars per hour have changed. When we pick industry average, the input overhead changes. You have general and administration input, indirect costs, and profit, but you no longer have benefits. That is because the benefits are included in the hourly earnings. These dollar costs come from the U.S. Industry Database. This database is available online. You can go to the database and fill in those numbers on your own. The database provides information for just about any industry that exists. If you pick on the question mark in the banner, it will take you to that database. This database is best viewed on a large screen using a PC. It is very difficult to read on a mobile device. Let us choose another calculation method, wages as a basis. The U.S. Industry Average selection input disappears. We re-enter our wage to $100 to keep the visual math easy. Note that wages as a basis for individual is the same as user supplied average. There is no difference. Wage as a basis is most useful for group meetings. Next, we shall investigate the consultant selection of individual or group. When we choose consultant, the calculation method is disabled. The input consists of a wage and a multiplication factor. Your input overhead is simply a multiplication factor. If you're consulting and you want to make $100 an hour average salary, your billing wage may have to be $250 an hour. When you are a consultant, your overhead includes accounting, rental, insurance, legal fees, office supplies, marketing, bid and proposal, and numerous other things that are not part of billable hours. 150 to 300% overhead is not unreasonable. You can change the multiplication factor to whatever fits your consulting practice. The default is 250%. The point is, you don't charge what your hourly earnings are, but what your billable hours are to get the proper hourly rate necessary to determine the meeting cost. Let us move on to group meetings. When selecting a group meeting, you have the same input we had for individual, user supplied average, industry average, or wages as a basis. We will choose user supplied average to start, and we will use $100 per hour and the same overhead as before. Now our per attendee total meeting cost is $145, which includes the average wage of $100 and a total overhead cost of $45 per hour. Assuming everybody in the group is making close to the same wage, which is reasonable as we generally meet with our peers, you simply put in a number of attendees to get the group meeting cost. We will use 10 attendees to make the math easy. Now we see that the cost is increased by 10 to $1,450 per hour. We can submit this. Now it is ready to be used by the meeting meter. It is pending until we start a new meeting. We return to the cost calculator and choose industry average. We select management professional. Our dollars per hour is now $57.14. With the overhead, the total per attendee meeting cost is $65.50. Because our number of attendees is 1. If we increase that to 10, we get a similar increase to $657. A limitation of the previous algorithm is that everybody in the meeting is assumed to have the same average wage. The meetings analyzer provides another method called wage as a basis, whereby you only have to know your wage and estimate where other groups are relative to you. If the user selects wage as a basis, the group meeting inputs change significantly. 2 slides appear. The first slide is used to place the user in a wage group relative to his or her peers. For example, if the user is a mid-career engineer, they may be in the 70th percentile of wage earners relative to his or her peers. The second slide is a dual knob slide. It is used to place 2 groups of peers relative to the user. There are 3 groups: high, middle, and low. The user will be in one of these groups with some peers, while other participants will be placed in one of the 2 remaining groups. From these 3 inputs, an algorithm calculates the 2 other group wages relative to the user's group. These 3 separate group wages are then multiplied by the number of participants in each group. Note, if a user fails to enter a number of participants for any group, that group will be multiplied by 0. When a new group meeting is established, each group, high, middle, and low, is set to 0. Thus, the calculated result is 0. That calculated result will become a positive number as soon as a number is entered into one of the group inputs. Let us assume that you, the individual, make $100 per hour. We select wage as a basis for the group. We will keep our overhead the same. We shall perform an example calculation. First, group the participants into low, medium, and high wage groups. Place yourself in one of these groups. For this example, we assume there is a higher group around 90% and a lower group around 50%. We adjust the dual knobs accordingly. Next, we enter the amount of attendees in each group. We will use 2, 5, and 8 for high, middle, and low. Note, the meeting's total cost changes as the numbers are updated. The total dollars per hour cost for this meeting becomes $1,793 per hour. Let us keep the low, middle, and high groupings the same, but change our position. such that we are in the high group. Now the total dollar per hour cost is reduced. This is because all others' wages are relative to yours, and you are in the highest paid group. Now we move into the lowest paid group. We put ourselves in a group in the 40 percentile. So 60% of the employees make more. We leave the other groupings at 50 and 76. Note the median cost increases. Again, this is because others' wages are relative to ours, and we are the lowest paid group. This concludes the discussion of the cost calculator portion of the Meetings Analyzer application.